So how long should we wait?
Yes, ma'am. We are live now. You can start.
Okay. Should we wait for the presenter, for the participants to join, or should we begin? Because right now there are no participants.
Okay.
Is the other session over, Imtiaz?
Yeah, it is over, I think.
Right. So it's 5:38. I think by 5:40, should we begin? Give few minutes more. Good afternoon, everyone. We're going to begin in about 1 minute. Should we begin, Vidya?
Okay.
Okay. So, good afternoon, everyone. It's my pleasure to be the chairperson of this panel discussion. We have two presentations and one poster today. And we begin first with a presentation called The Stress to Resilience on Being a Responsive Parent During the Post Pandemic. There are three authors. The first is Dr. Smita Desai, the founder director, Drishti, Mumbai, India. Second, Dr. Vidya Satish, director, STES, Institute of Comprehensive Education, Sion. And Madhura Gaurav, counseling psychologist, department coordinator, Drishti, Mumbai. So, welcome. We begin with Dr. Vidya Satish, and then Smita ji will also join us. So, welcome to this session. I want to start with what I've been missing is joy in this conference, and I thought, let me find some joke to begin with, because let's lighten up. We're talking about children, and I've recently saw Times of India, cartoon of Dennis the Menace. It comes every day, and so he gets a kind of a report card from his nursery, and he's telling his mother, don't take her too seriously. She's been stuck in the nursery school for last 30 years. So I think all of us shouldn't take ourselves too seriously.
Yes.
We are stuck in the nursery school for last 30 years. And it also reminds me, like I said, of my own teacher, Dr. Annalakshmi, who used to say that people say, oh, how can you teach the same thing again and again, year after year? And she says, I don't teach subject, I teach people, and they change every year. So I think that's so critical that we may be changing very similar concepts, but over the years they keep changing. And I think COVID really shook us all, because what we thought was the way we teach completely changed during the pandemic. And I think that's what even Vidya and Smita's presentation is about. So, not wasting any more time, let's begin the presentation.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Radha ma'am. And just, can I share the screen now?
Yeah, please.
Is it visible?
Yes, it's visible.
Yeah. Namaste and good evening, one and all. As Shraddha ma'am said, that Dr. Desai and I would be presenting on stress to resilience on being a responsive parent during and post pandemic. Basically, this current research attempted to examine the key role that parents played as collaborators and partners in the development of their child, along with the well being during the COVID 19 pandemic, and also the factors that influenced or could have impacted parent child interaction in the future. So we all know that schooling is an all-inclusive, universal experience, with the main trust being on a foundational foundation for future learning. But we also know that along with the learning that happens in the school, there is academic learning, there is cognitive and socio-emotional learning also happening at the same time. Now, this COVID 19 pandemic constrained schools globally to a close down almost in a very urgent and unplanned manner, that too for a very long period. Um, Now, what happened during the COVID lockdown was parents had to take over the role of the teacher. So, this physical closure became very important for everybody, and the mode of teaching and learning shifted to that of an online platform that we are all aware of. Now, the parents had this additional responsibility of taking up the academic, cognitive, and social support, along with they were actually the primary stakeholders in the educational system. They suddenly became the frontline managers. So, the parents had to take the responsibility of the classrooms, and it actually was something not very easy for them. The review of literature was conducted. So we have studies which was done during the COVID time and also pre-COVID. Now, most of the studies indicated that parents had to spend a lot of time, as we all know, on housework and also work from home. This was very stressful for them, and as a result of which, behaviors like yelling and screaming, child abuse, marital conflict, all this also happened. And basically, the if you look at the study by Dongetal, it very clearly indicates that parents felt that it is better to have a traditional face-to-face instruction rather than an online, because basically they were not able to support children's online learning. Now, the pre-pandemic research reveals a significant relationship between positive correlation actually between the parental involvement as well as the academic achievement of the child. And the parents who displayed individual resilience, they had the higher ability to model it to the child, and this helped in better coping skills and also personal resources for the child. Now, coming to the aims and objectives of this study, we wanted to examine the key role that parents played in the overall development and well being of the children during the COVID 19 pandemic, and also understand the factors that may influence and impact parent child relationship in the future. So, the second aim was to examine patterns and organize the data into significant themes for an increased understanding of the same. Now, the objectives were to study areas of parental involvement during the pandemic, to understand how parents strive to manage and achieve work life balance, and also understand how resilience grew in them during this difficult time, and also the impact of these other factors on parent child interaction, both long term and short term. Now, the research methodology that we adopted, the design was qualitative research design, because it was studying about the hows and the whys of the situation, which is the pandemic, which is the COVID 19. So we adopted a purposeful sampling technique, and 13 children from Mumbai and Bengaluru, the parents of 13 children basically, um, they participated in the study voluntarily, and the children were actually between 6 to 10 years, kindergarten to fourth grade. 69% of them were currently employed, and 76% of the parents at least had a minimum of graduate degree. The procedure that we adopted was we prepared a semi-structured in-depth parent interview schedule, and through Google Meet, so virtually we carried out the interview. The interview schedule consisted of 18 questions associated with parental involvement, which talks about the children's comprehensive development and well-being. The responses were recorded and then transcribed ad verbatim. So the analysis took place. We adopted the inductive approach, where the details of the readings of the raw data was studied in depth, and then we extracted 5 themes. And so basically, it was a qualitative approach with theme extraction. Regarding the results, Dr. Desai will now take over.
So you're almost there for 5 minutes, Vidya. Thank you. So, Smitaji, you are on mute, so you can unmute, please.
Yes. Thank you so much, Dr. Vidya. And I will continue with what were our findings of the study. So, as Dr. Vidya stated, basically we managed to extract five very relevant themes. And the first theme that emerged most strongly was about parental involvement and parental engagement with their child or with their children during the pandemic. Now, this engagement or involvement mainly consisted of additional responsibilities and an increase in the daily engagement in the parents' engagement in the child's academic activities and overall well-being. Most families felt that they spent an increased amount of constructive time together as a family. It began as a forced or a default situation, but most caregivers soon recognized the benefits accruing from this. A number of parents were very happy about their access to constant communication with the school teachers. Parents also recognized their own lack of competency as far as online academic participation was concerned. However, only 33% of them engaged in any structured training programs like webinars or courses, etc. Reduced social interaction for their child with their peers and teachers, as well as very few opportunities for individualized monitoring by teachers, were some important differences that parents recognized between the online and the offline modes of learning. Next slide, please.
We can't see your slide suddenly. Imtiaz ji,
Shall I share it again?
yes, please. Also, can you quickly tell me what is the age group? Because some people joined little later. What age group were the children whose parents you interviewed?
Yeah. So the age group of the children was starting from 6 years till somewhere around end of 9 years, so almost 10 years.
Okay.
And these children were spread out across kindergarten to fourth grade because there were also
Vidya,
some
the
children.
PPT is not working.
Yeah, I'm unable to
Sorry.
stop share screen. I think I'll go out and come in.
Imtiaz, will you be able to help me?
Yes, ma'am. Please rejoin again. Vidya, ma'am, please rejoin
Because the
again,
stop
and
share
you can.
screen,
Yeah,
I'm not.
Imtiaz ji is saying, please rejoin. You
Yeah,
leave and
can.
rejoin, please. Sorry, Smita ji. Please go
No
ahead.
problem.
Yeah.
No problem.
oh, I'm not able to rejoin also. I'll
So,
just.
so the children were in kindergarten until age four,
Yeah,
class four.
till class four, because also what happened is that some of the children which which came in through this sampling was also some children with special education needs. So we might have had a couple of children with autism. There were others with some developmental delays, right? So we got a good mix in this, and therefore also there might have been some older children, say, who should actually have been in the fifth grade but were in the fourth grade. So
I
stuff
think it
like that.
would also be interesting if did you do over the age comparison? Because what about children who are a little older compared to the kindergarten group? Did the parents
Yes.
feel more empowered with
So
younger?
we have spoken a lot about this in the paper that we will be publishing. We've gone further into details about about the different comments and about their feelings, their emotions, and how what were some of the difficulties that specifically parents with special education needs children had. So we have gone into details about it as far as the paper is concerned, but we couldn't cover everything in the presentation.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, Vidya, any luck with the presentation?
Yes. Now we can see
Yes.
it.
Yes. So for those who've just joined in, the like Dr. Vidya said, from our results we could extract mainly five themes. And Vidya, maybe we'll just go back the last slide. I'll just quickly say what the first theme was.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the first overwhelming theme was increased parental involvement and engagement in the daily caregiving, and that included whether it was physical caregiving, social emotional caregiving, or even academic activities. So largely it was greater parental engagement. The second theme that we extracted, next slide please, with them. The second theme that we extracted was about parental stress and their work life balance, right? So there was an ever overwhelming pattern about the varied stressors and challenges faced by the parents and the different coping mechanisms that were used. So the varied stressors included facing financial difficulties, job insecurities, health based challenges, difficulties with handling COVID positive patients at home, death in the family or among friends, not having house help, feeling stressed about managing children's online education, especially at the beginning of the pandemic situation. And some of their statements ad verbatim are as seen on the slide. We went crazy trying to manage work and home. We felt trapped at home. Our mental health didn't seem good enough. Work itself became stressful, including job insecurities. And very commonly amongst the mothers, what they said is, I had no time for myself because there were suddenly so many people at home at the same time. We also found that parents implemented diverse coping mechanisms, which I'm going to talk about in the next slide. Next slide, please, Dr. Vidya. Yeah. So in the next slide, as you can see, parents had different statements to make. Like we had to battle elementary math learning, or there were like too many people around. If I have two children, both of them are there and expect my attention to be given to them. And so the diverse coping strategies were mainly in the form of physical activities, creative activities, social interaction and networking using technology, spending some time meditating, reading, and engaging in spiritual activities. Next slide, please. The third theme that emerged was very significantly about parental stress, about managing their children's online schooling or online education, right? In this, we found mixed responses. So, parents expressed a varied amount of support that they received from school. Some parents were dissatisfied, especially those with children with special education needs. Other parents expressed that they felt pressured about the to dos from school, like submissions and evaluations, whereas there were those who were satisfied with teacher interaction as well as the time that they themselves spent with their child as a study buddy. Some of the other stressors in this scenario was their dependence on technology, Wi-Fi, and managing the work from home schedules. The mechanisms, coping mechanisms that parents use for managing online schooling was basically, implementing certain behavioral strategies like this behavior modification chart we put in here. Many parents took the help of their own parents as the children's grandparents. So grandparents were pulled into the circle of home teachers, and this tended to work out very very well because a lot of the senior citizens now are also quite technology enabled because of the number of banking functions that they have to carry out, other online functions that they have to carry out. So we found this a very very positive outcome. The next theme, next slide, please. Theme number 4 was about social emotional learning and well-being that the parents interacted in. So there was greater awareness, actions taken to look after the social emotional well-being of their children during the pandemic. Basically, the significant patterns were decreased ability of children to emotionally regulate, increased physical hostilities amongst the children. Few parents also noticed significant behavioral changes in their children. And some of the coping strategies that the parents used was increased communication, assertive language, structured recreation, and avenues for creativity. Technology was used as a major channel for social connectivity. Next slide, please.
Vidya, Smitaji, you have exactly 1 minute left.
Yes, yes. The fifth theme that was extracted was about resilience. And, from the interviews, it became apparent that parents were undergoing multiple personal challenges. And some of the points stated on the slides were strategies which parents used to handle the tough times, like inner strength, companionship, belief in God and spirituality, using movies, media, etc., in order to deal with the situation. Next slide, please. Thus, the conclusions and discussion was that the role of parents in the pandemic was extremely challenging. Significant areas of parental engagement was daily caregiving, online education, extracurricular activities, and social emotional growth. Results showed increased financial and health insecurities amongst parents. This probably also gave rise to anger and irritation while caregiving. Working mothers experienced greater stress than working fathers. The stress of balancing both family and work routines during the pandemic was a common theme, and creative approaches to stress management were implemented. Next slide, please. Few parents also felt trapped between caregiving and work responsibilities and felt guilty that they were not doing the best. High levels of parental stress were associated with increased media or screen time of the children. Parents and children seem to have developed increased levels of resilience during the pandemic, an increased amount of family time, greater bonding, greater inclusion of parents, grandparents took place during this period. Next slide, please. Our macro recommendations
We
are
cannot see the slides right now. Vidya, again, I think we have.
okay. I'll just kind of go. This my
Please
last
conclude.
slide.
Yeah, I think it's very critical that we end now.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the macro recommendations were to replicate the current study with a larger sample size, psychoeducation and training for significant stakeholders, especially parents and teachers, including resilience training in school life skills programs, improved liaison between parents and school systems, and school programs to focus on increased amount of social emotional development and learning of children. So I will finish with that. And thank you, Dr. Shraddha, for allowing these extra couple of minutes.
Thank you very much, Smita ji and Vidya ji. It was a window to the world that all parents have gone through during the pandemic. And I think what really emerges is that the parents were resilient. There was anxiety, there was stress, but there were also lots of positives that you discussed, that parents had time to spend with their children. I'm reminded of William Corsaro's book on sociology of childhood. And he says, how did schools start? Are schools for children or are they for parents? And that's a question that all of us should think about. Are we just sending our children, and especially in preschool years, in the kindergarten period, that is it a kind of a child care so that the parents can work and the child is away? So even when it began in Italy, the children would come back by 1 o'clock so that the mother could finish her housework, and the timing till today continues to be 7 to 1. And like many working mothers now come forward and say, shouldn't it be 9 to 4, so that it helps in our work day? So I think the question really emerges also is that there is resilience, but there is also this thing of, are we looking at the parents? We are looking at the parents, but we are also looking at who are these services for? And I think I really wish, when you were talking about your recommendation, I would say that children's voices would really tell us a lot. That did they enjoy being there with their parents at home and could
Right.
see their mother, even if she was on a computer in the other room, but she may be available much more than when it's a school day. Of course, the social component is something that all children missed during pandemic and wanted to definitely go back. Do we have any questions? Nandita ma'am has joined, my wonderful teacher. Or some societies and government feel they have done their job. Absolutely. So, somewhere we believe that, especially during the kindergarten period, that, I always say, who is the service for? What is the service providing? And so it's very important to have these conversations, that is it for the parents or is it for the children? and and let's be prepared in future and learn from this pandemic, that if ever again online classes happen again, what is it that parents can do? Because I'm a parent too, and I realize that of all the things that I could manage, one that lacked was the social part, to be with other children. And I think otherwise, to be with your parents at home is quite wonderful for children. And I think the schools really worked hard to ensure at least the good quality schools. And even I've read reports of government of Delhi, and how they contacted the parents, and you were in touch with WhatsApp with parents every week. So I think that responsiveness towards your child, it actually increased during the pandemic, right? Do we
If I
have?
may just add in one last word,
Yeah, please.
personally, because I work a lot with special children with special education needs, and throughout this whole pandemic, we really saw actually a lot of silver linings. And I think it's wonderful to even to look at that positive way forward. But really, we did, and I think that's something that I would want to take away from here. Not only the growth of
Absolutely.
resilience, but a lot of good things also managed to take place during this.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Do we have
Thank
any
you so much.
comments or questions? Otherwise, we move to the poster now. So I will invite Kirti and 1 minute. So Kirti and Jyoti, please, can you come on the stage? Yes, thank you. So you have 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Um, would you like to introduce yourselves?
Yes, yes. So
Yes.
myself Jyoti from United Way Bangalore, and I'm the part of education team at United Way Bangalore, and we are working with Anganwadi, close to 900 plus since last 5 years.
Wow.
So this is the campaign started at national level, and we are focusing on the school readiness. And we are not only with the children under six, but also with the mothers and fathers as well, engaging their participation for the contribution.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
So can we see your poster?
Yes. So Kirti can share the
Sure,
screen. Kirti,
I'll
can you
just share.
introduce yourself? After that, I'll
Kirti,
start.
please introduce yourself also.
Yeah. Hi everyone. I hope I'm audible.
Yes, you are.
Yeah. So hi, I'm Kirti Menon, and I also work with United Way Bangalore in the education vertical. So we also have been working for our campaign, Born Learning campaign, which also focuses on early childhood care and education. And I've been working in this sector for close to 3.5 years now. So I've started my career only with this campaign. So we are very excited to present our work here. So yeah. So should I just share my screen? Should I
Please.
start?
Yes.
Yeah. Is it visible, Jyoti?
Not yet,
No.
Kirti. Yeah.
Yes, now
Yeah.
it is. I think if
Yeah.
you do it in a slide mode, maybe we can see a bigger.
Yeah.
I just did the slide mode. Is it still
No, because we can see the top
just
line,
a
which
second?
should go. Uh,
Can you see now? Is it okay?
no, we can see, but we.
Put it in the slide mode,
No,
Kirti.
yeah, I put it in the slide mode. Is it visible
Mm,
now?
Not yet. It is in the
not yet.
same, yeah,
Yeah.
PPT model only. Can you just
Just a
recheck it?
second. Reshare it again. Yeah.
Kirti, there's a request to see your face. So can you put your video on?
Actually, I am facing some network issue, hence I've just not
Okay.
put my video on. Yeah.
The whole pandemic, I was teaching 70 boxes. So I think, we are used to this. But if your network improves, it'll be really nice.
Yeah.
Definitely,
Yeah. So
definitely. Yeah.
now it's visible. So can you
Yeah.
please explain to the participants? Yeah.
Yes. Good evening, everyone. We have already introduced ourselves, and as a part of Born Learning campaign, here we are presenting our poster presentation on Born Learning campaign, which has been during the pandemic times. What are the whatever the interventions we have taken with the parents. We are going to talk about that.
Okay.
So, starting with the slide one, I'll just go with one of the story of two beneficiaries directly from the field. And starting with the first one about Parinita, a 4 year young child who has been recognized by India Books of Records 2021 for reciting all Kannada alphabets and numeracy and 9 poems on her own. So this is one of the achievement has happened to the child, and this has not happened overnight, but a continuous effort has been made by her parents during pandemic times when everything was on hold and learning was completely ignored for young futures of this nation. Another story is about a father, Manjunath, who has learned the concepts of early learning engagements for his kid and was conducting learning practices for the kid during COVID times. He says COVID has given him the opportunity of knowing more about his kid, especially on learning, health, and nutrition component, which is very crucial for the building blocks of early formative years. So these are the major two story directly from the field during pandemic, where we have seen the transformation of a parent as a collaborator and the change maker, who has transformed these, so who have learned this learning engagement, technical learning engagement on ECE, and made this happen in the pandemic times, and get that engagement done at their level. And all we all know that this is the only possible. So this is what about this one, and all these were only possible when uninterrupted connections we have established with our parents, and the target universe through WhatsApp call, videos, messages, connecting over with them over Google Meets, Zoom meetings, to make them understand how learning is important for their kids and how they can become our partners of change during pandemic times. So this has brought that transformation among the parents from responsible to the responsive parenting. And this effort was made by our team to create this change maker in the community through these parents. So coming to slide number 2, Kirti, if you can change it.
Just a second, I think.
Yeah. So slide 2 talks about our pre-pandemic and during pandemic intervention, and I'll talk about the during pandemic the intervention what we has been taken. So as we all know that pandemic has led to the closure of all the centers, causing a sudden disconnect and disarray within the beneficiary and stakeholders on the ground. And while having this disconnect, which has led to the serious implications on the tracking of early stimulation activities, and it also shows a visible gap in the parents in understanding of its significance and including in their day-to-day routine. So our team has rose up to demonstrating resilience, adaptability, flexibility, and a go-getter approach by addressing the needs of the families and their well-being. So their focused intervention on empowering and equipping parents for self-sustenance was amazing to see. So efforts made by the team was amazing, and through these efforts, connecting the parents with the virtual connect, it was a change which has been brought into the parents in their learning, and showcasing their learning activities to be conducted for the child in their home through different means and knowledge awareness program. Coming to the third slide. So these methods and approaches what we have taken, uh, so it has led with the interventions through which we have supported our parents during pandemic times, by linking them with the financial inclusion and linkages to social welfare schemes and community support system for immediate reliefs. And also we have empowered them to build food security through kitchen gardening at home level, and which has helped in further dialogue on care routines and additional nutritional supplement for their kids and other beneficiaries in the community and at home level. This has also bring a positive and productive engagement of parents in the planning of care routines for their child, mapping of available resources within the household, and encouraging cost-effective methods to create stimulating activity and environment. And it has also involved making of low-cost GLMs, which was one of the amazing intervention with the parents. So these are the intervention. If you see the target numbers we have met during the pandemic with the families and the beneficiaries, and you can also see the families which has been tracked during 2021 and 21-22 during the pandemic times, so that we have ensured the well-being for the child and the families during pandemics by supporting them mentally, socially, and psychologically, yes, also. So this kind of helped, and this has helped in bringing them into the equation of being equal partners in childhood success and effective contribution towards school readiness, and they have now become our partner of change in this campaign.
Jyoti,
So
can you also do the third slide? We have 1 minute left.
yeah. So this is how the whole intervention has been carried out to make parents more sustainable, more adaptive, and more flexible to adopt the technical learning for the children well-being to be taken care for on health and nutrition aspect through these interventions. And we have reached these numbers of beneficiary under the campaign during, especially during this pandemic times. for the change which has happened through the parents. Now we can say proudly say they are the collaborators and the change makers in the community, and equal partners who are bringing the transformation for the child development in the community at home through this campaign. So this is all about our poster presentation, and happy to present it here with this platform at ACD. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kirti and Jyoti. It was really wonderful. I loved the phrase parents as partners. You know,
Yeah,
we are always believing that we need to teach them things and not seeing them as partner. And I remember the inaugural session also talked about the kitchen garden. And
correct.
I think
Yeah,
you people, that picture was amazing. That, working with families and working through kitchen garden and, having them as partners and having discussion of what all they can do at home. So instead of,
right.
talking down to them, you were collaborating with them, which is
Yes.
just amazing, which I
And
think
this
it's
is one of the amazing
fantastic.
story which has been taken care by the mothers itself initiative across the location wherever we are working to develop
Fantastic.
that home-based kitchen garden, and which is
Yes,
really showing us the a kind of transformation in terms of using that nutritional element of food supply in their daily cooking, and that is
absolutely.
also economically viable and adaptive in the community. So
And a
you don't
child
need
learns
to.
so much through the kitchen garden.
Yes. So whole family is now getting engaged in terms of putting their efforts, manual efforts in growing all those
You're doing the
greens.
original kindergarten.
Yeah,
You're giving the kitchen
yeah.
garden to the
And this
children
has
and
also,
doing
we
it.
have seen Shraddha, we have also seen through this kitchen garden, they were able to save some 250 to 300 bucks on a monthly basis, which has been utilized for the kids studies and the learning materials.
Excellent.
So
Very nice.
these are the efforts has been made, and really we are happy to showcase all these benefits from the directly from the community who are serving very very well in the community for the children benefit.
Excellent.
Yeah,
And I think your approach of seeing them as partners is really fantastic.
yeah.
So, do we have any? Hi, Joe. Nice to. Okay, glad to see
Hi
you
Vaibhav, hi.
here. So,
Thank you.
any comments? Any questions from anyone? I think they've done excellent, reaching out to so many Anganwadi. So, how did you reach out during this period?
Yeah, so initially what we have done, Shraddha, we have created the WhatsApp group with the mothers
Okay.
across the location, and wherever it was not possible through the digital connect, like many parents were not having that smartphones and all. So what happened, the peer mothers, the direct mothers who are having the
Wow.
smartphones, they
Became peer
to the
mothers.
nearby peer mothers, they reached to those
Excellent.
mother nearby to their community and taught them about the technical easy learning happened to be at home level for their kids. So the amazing part was that every day
Excellent.
those mothers used to conduct the activity and they used to share over WhatsApp through
Yeah.
videos and photographs. So
Excellent.
our facilitators at the field on a daily basis, they used to connect with them through the calls and video calls. They used to share the preschooling engagement videos to them. We have created those videos during pandemic, and those videos have been utilized by these mothers in conduct. Not only mothers, I would say fathers role was very significant while having this
Wow.
engagement with the children. So this story of Manjunath, he is a daily wages worker,
Yeah.
and he has been able to understand the concept of ECC, which is very wonderful. And on a regular basis now, still now, even now also, he after coming back to home, at least half an hour he used to give time to his son and interact with that particular engagement on the learnings or some kind of activity he
Amazing.
used to do. So it
Fantastic.
is really amazing.
Really. You remember we began today's session by saying, let's take three learning from each presentation. And
Yes,
I'm taking, I love the term peer mother and the parent as partner and the kitchen garden. I think your presentation and the poster was very powerful in conveying these three
thank you Shraddha,
points.
thank you,
Thank you very much. We now move to the last
thank you.
presentation of the day. Um, we have Mitali with us, and she is going to talk about the social and technological factors in using technology for parent engagement in ECC. So, welcome, Mitali.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes, you are. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes. So I am Mitali. I work as
Mitali,
a.
we cannot see you.
Okay, that is weird. I have shared my video. Do you want me to?
Okay. Okay, go ahead. I think because of the sharing of the video, maybe it's your face. Yeah. Yeah, now your face was visible for a second.
Acha.
Yes, yes.
I think it's the other way
Now
around.
I can see it. Welcome.
Okay.
And yeah,
Uh,
please introduce yourself, Mitali. Yeah.
Yeah. So I work at Quality Education Support Trust. I work mostly in the impact assessment and research department here. I'm a senior officer of research and monitoring and evaluation. And Quest, we work mainly in Maharashtra, but we work in most districts of Maharashtra, 26 districts. And our biggest work is in EC. So we work with about 1800 Anganwadis. We have worked with about 1800 Anganwadis. We currently work with about 500. So I think that's my
Welcome.
short introduction. Yeah.
And you have an amazing background. I
Oh,
love what
thank
I
you.
can see at the back.
Oh, thank you. That's
Yes.
it's a painting by one of my colleagues.
Okay, wonderful.
So,
So you can share your
yeah.
screen and
Yes.
begin your presentation.
Okay. Is this visible?
Yes, it's visible.
Okay. So I'll start with my presentation.
Yes.
I'll quickly go through what the program is. We at Quest we implement a program called Palavee, where we work with the Anganwadi Sevika to strengthen their EC service in Anganwadis, and we work in 6 districts with this program. So the our normal program is where we provide training to the Anganwadi Sevikas, and then they conduct EC activities with their children. So this is our outreach. We work with about 17,000 children and 500 Anganwadis. So everyone knows this, so I'll quickly jump ahead. Uh, During the lockdowns, the Anganwadis were closed. It's only now that they are starting, and we have seen in previous presentations as well that, and in just the previous presentation, we saw that it is very likely that a lot of parents will not have phones and all. So, okay, Anganwadis were closed, and we thought what we could do. So we took the obvious option of sending videos through WhatsApp. So what the stand that we took was, we've seen previously most of the presenters have been commenting on sending videos to WhatsApp, and then parents will also send videos back. But we took two stands in our program. One was that we will not show any video directly to the child, so
Okay.
because we didn't want to increase any kind of screen time. And the other stand that we took was we also wanted this to happen through the Anganwadi Sevika. So we actually, Quest doesn't actually send the video directly to the parents, but Quest forwards the video to the Anganwadi Sevika, and she sends the video to the WhatsApp group of parents. What the parents are supposed to do is they're supposed to watch the video. So the video is also produced in house in Quest. The video is also produced in house in Quest, and what parents are supposed to do is they're supposed to watch the activity that is happening there in the video. They're supposed to conduct the same activity with their child, and they're supposed to send the video back to the Anganwadi Tai. And Anganwadi Tai gives feedback to the parents on, okay, did you conduct the activity well? What more could you do with the child? If there is a different material that they could use to conduct the same activity, and so on. So this was the basic design of the program, and it was called as Anganwadi Majhya Ghari. So in Marathi, that means my school at my house.
Okay.
Uh, what we also did at a later stage of the lockdown was, once the very stringent lockdown phase was over, Anganwadi Tai used to pay home visits to the parents. So what she would also do is she would demonstrate the activities to the parents or show some videos. The parents were supposed to replicate those activities, and the Anganwadi Tai would shoot the videos in her own phone, or parents could share the videos through Bluetooth if internet was not available. So this kind of a program we ran. what I will do is I will quickly show you a video of
Yes.
a response video of a parent. So this video is based on an activity called as one-to-one correspondence. So the child is supposed to compare two groups of objects using one-to-one correspondence and decide what is more, which group has more number of objects. So I will play the video. Shraddha, could you tell me if the audio is, if you can't hear the audio?
Okay, I'll do that. I
Okay.
The volume is low. Mm, the volume is still low, Kirti.
Okay.
Mitali, the volume is low. Uh,
Okay.
but we can see the video clearly. The volume is not very.
Okay, let me see if I can do something.
Yeah, and that's why I had also put myself on mute
Yeah.
so that.
No. Okay. I think we will just start again. I realize that most of the audience is also may not be familiar with Marathi, so it won't really matter if you don't hear the audio. So,
I think you can go ahead.
okay.
Be interesting to see it.
Okay. Okay. I will stop with the video. Uh, if you could see the video, what she was doing was she was making pairs of the object and then she was deciding, she was asking the child, then what is more? So, what is left? The bobbin is left, so therefore the bobbin is more. Then, how will you say it? There are more bobbins than there are reels.
Yeah. No, it was wonderful.
Yeah, so this is the thank you. This is the kind of response that we got from our videos. And after the point where the lockdowns went down, the stringent lockdowns went down, we also started giving worksheets to the parents. So these kinds of worksheets we gave, and this is about our current outreach. We have about 4,000 videos by parents.
Amazing.
uh, what we realized was, so coming to the technological and social challenges part of it, we could not keep track on WhatsApp of which parent is sending what video. So the set of videos, we have about 100 videos and they are arranged in a specific order. You're supposed to do the first video first and the second video second and so on. So because we send the videos through WhatsApp, we couldn't really keep track of, let's say, parent 1 is doing video 5, parent 2 is doing video 8, parent 3 is doing video 13. So what we had to do was we had to develop an LMS to keep track of all the videos and the individual child profiles. So we developed this LMS called as Palavee app. So what we did was Anganwadi Tai had that app and she could push the video on WhatsApp. The parents did not have to learn any app because most of this work has been done in Parbhani and Amravati and Yavatmal, very rural parts of Parbhani, Amravati, and Yavatmal. So we couldn't really expect the parents to learn a new app and then send the videos. But what we did was we created a backend of our app and we pushed the videos on WhatsApp through a WhatsApp interface. The parents could reply to those to the messages with their own videos, and then Anganwadi Tai could give individual feedback to all of the parents. So that was one of the biggest technological challenge that we encountered. But we did all of this and then we thought, okay, so now the program should run well. So the once the lockdowns lifted, we started going to the villages. we started going to the villages, and then we found out that most of the parents, we conducted a palak sabha, and we found out that most of the mothers weren't even aware that such a program is happening. Then we realized that the phone was only with their fathers, and although the contribution of the fathers was non-negligible, some fathers did contribute, most of the fathers, or a good percentage of the fathers, did not even tell their wives that something of this sort of an initiative was launched by the Anganwadi. So then what we did was we conducted Palak Sabhas in the evening at night when both the parents would be home, and then we convinced the fathers to let the mothers handle the phone for at least half an hour in the evening so that they could conduct activities with their children and then send the activities back. Even another thing that we found was some of our videos had things like parents had to conduct chair reading with their children, and most
Your
of the
5 minutes are over, Mitali.
uh, okay, 5 minutes of the presentation or 10?
5 minutes of the presentation, you have 5 more minutes.
Okay. Yeah, that should be more than enough. Okay, so what we found out was most of the parents did not have any conception of reading story books to their children. They either told a story orally or they read alphabet charts with their children. 62% of the parents from the sample, when we conducted the research study, showed that they never read a storybook to their children. If they did read it, it would be something like some lessons from history textbooks, or if the child had a older sibling, or poems from the textbook. So apart from textbooks, most of the households did not even have what would you say, storybooks at their house. So this is what we call a deficit of some print-rich environment. And one of the most glaring insights from the study was only 20% of the parents could be reached. Uh, so out of those 17,000 parents that we work with, we could only reach out to about 3,500 parents, and this was because of lack of connectivity in the villages, and as well as lack of devices. So you need to have WhatsApp, you need to have a video player in your device. So what we also did was we we distributed tabs to the Anganwadi Tai, and we enabled the Anganwadi Tai to to essentially lend her tab to parents on a regular basis. In the sense, she could shoot a video of her parents on her tab, she could upload the worksheets on her tab, etc. Okay, I have. Okay. So one of the impacts that we observed from this intervention called as Anganwadi Majhya Ghari. So I have just shared the negative side. I will go on to share the positive side. Was Anganwadi Thais themselves can now use technology effectively, and they can communicate with their parents. Generally, what happened, and I've observed this in a few other presentations in the conference as well, is that parents didn't know what it is that teachers do. So the videos were pedagogically strong, and once parents started enacting or conducting those activities with their children, they realized that teaching is not such an easy job, and exactly what an Anganwadi Tai does when she conducts activities with children. Fathers have become more involved in their child's education. So we can see the picture of a father conducting a shared reading with their children, and we also could see instances like parents took their children to their field, and then they counted fruits, they counted leaves, and something like that, because the video told them to count things. And one of the biggest impacts that we could see, which I just mentioned, was that parents are starting to appreciate the role that Anganwadi Thais play. So Anganwadi Tai is not generally looked at as a teacher. So she is also called an Anganwadi worker. So parents have started to appreciate that early childhood education is not something that anyone can do. It's not very difficult if you decide to learn how to do it, but it's not just okay घर पे भी कर सकते हैं, प्री स्कूल में जाने की कोई जरूरत नहीं है kind of a thing. So this was one of our biggest findings. Mm,
Very,
That's
very,
it.
very nice, Mitali. Can you switch off your presentation? Yeah. I think it was a fantastic presentation, and I love the name, even Anganwadi Tai instead of the worker. It
Yeah.
gives her a more meaningful relationship with her community. And also, I think what really emerged for me was that not only were you working with parents, but you also trained the Anganwadi Tai. You know, so it
Yeah.
it was like an in job training that you were giving to cope with a new situation that was emerging.
Yes, so that is what we normally do as a part of our intervention. We train the Anganwadi type.
Very good.
We
Okay.
don't directly engage with parents anyway. And
Yeah,
because it was COVID, everyone had to learn. We thought this was a good opportunity for the
for
Anganwadi
them too.
type to become more what in profesh
Yeah.
as a part of our continuous professional
Pref-
development.
yes.
So
And also, my one comment would be, I think what we are missing out is joy. The joy part. Even parents think education means rote learning, teaching
yeah,
alphabets. When even as young parents, I have noticed the mothers would start teaching very drab poem or a rhyme to the child. They
huh,
haven't learned the technique, maybe the availability. I'm sure there is in Maharashtra, and Pratham and a lot of organizations produce books which can be fun. So,
yeah,
this thing of that you can read for pleasure, you can
yeah.
read for joy. I think that part really needs to be emphasized.
So that was one of the reasons that we started doing those videos. So
Yeah.
you mentioned Pratham books. So because there's a big repository of books available online now. We used to
Yes.
send the books and we used to say, okay, read the books out with your children. But then what parents used to do uh, was they used to read a line, then they used to ask the child to repeat the line. Then they
Yeah.
used to read another line, then they used to. So then we thought, okay, we need to model how to read a book with children. So we started making the videos, and the video had an explicit instruction at the end of what to do and what not to do, just one
Yes.
or two lines.
Yes, and also using culturally appropriate methods. So even maybe something like Nautanki or some other method to reach out, which is also part of the culture, which can be seen as entertainment, but also helps in education. Could help in future. So thank you so much, Mitali. It was a wonderful session. Any comments, any questions from our participants? Otherwise, I think the workshop has started and you
Okay.
all can move towards that. Anyone wants to say anything? We had a wonderful session. Thank you so much, all the presenters. And I really enjoyed it. It was a window to a world for us of what was happening in different parts of the country, from Bangalore to Maharashtra. And so, thank you very much, Mitali.
Thank you.
Thanks. Thanks. So, thank you. We end the session here today.